Good morning, everyone. I'm a tad late today. Might have to change this time to 8:45 in the future. Not sure exactly. We'll see. As the sun rises later, my goat obligations shift later. So anyway, let me get my screen share going and let's see where we are. And as I was writing my note, of course, things are shifting around a little bit, but that's okay. Hi, Nanda. Okay. And so here we are at 66.50. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? So for UTA type people, and I grew up doing TA once upon a time when I was a kid. Here's without the gap up, right? And so we gapped up to here. So of course, the first question that comes, hey Sherman, the first question that comes to mind gets from a price action. I like saying price action better than technical analysis for whatever reason. That's just me. Um, so here's without today's gap. So here was yesterday's high, 65.25, nice round number. We're up here, and we're going to look at the gamma to kind of overlay the gamma, which is where the market makers reflexive hedging is expected to happen. That's kind of the edge we get here, along with volatility and other things. I'm assuming if you're watching, you have an idea, but I tend to try to explain it while I'm talking. Like I always say, I think fast, so I talk fast, so you have to listen fast. So from 66.50 where we are now, those of us that are in the gap fill camp would say, well, the all-time high was 66.27-ish, 25, round number. Is that the pullback area? Does it pull back, somewhere in here? Does it exceed the expected move? Expected move was, I forget, 27-ish or something last time I looked. So let's just say 30 to round up from 66.45-ish. 30 rounded up gives us 65.75, a nice round number, and gives us 66.20-ish, kind of the area we've been trying to break out from and stall. So we have some kind of price action references to mentally overlay on what's going on here. Okay, and for those of you that are subscribers, or if you see my chart that I post free wherever on YouTube, I mean on Twitter and wherever I post stuff. I'm trying to get the verbiage of what I call things standardized, but I'm not doing a great job of it because I kind of write stream of consciousness. Yeah, so 60, that's really for me, that's below chop zone. So say I look at 65, 66.20 as the edge, and if we go below there, that's the next level. So I agree with you. I see that same range, but I'm looking at from where we are. So it's just kind of a wording a wording difference. So in other words, we may not get to 66.20. That's kind of like the lower edge, really, of the expected move. So do we exceed the expected move to the downside? Maybe, maybe, I don't know. So speaking of expected move, I know you agree. You just use your terminology differently. You guys helped raise me to an extent. I consider Paul one of my mentors, even though we kind of saw things a little differently from time to time. I'm the goat herder. That's right. I didn't have goats back then. I was a suburban dweller with in a gated community with a pool. Anyway, enough of this banter. We'll get back to the banter later. Okay, so here we are. New all-time highs. Party on Garth. Fed's cutting rates. Nvidia's putting money into Intel. AI is you might have heard about it. AI is a thing, and people are excited about it for some reason. Rates are coming down, maybe, and so that favors growth and all that macro stuff. And that's the narrative du jour. That can change on a dime. But that's the narrative du jour, at least at 8:30 in the morning. Unemployment rates came out. I don't see a big reaction one way or another. We're still at 45, so that's that. So the macro algos aren't like outraged. Okay, so but it is drifting down, which doesn't surprise me. Now let's take a quick look at my little volatility dashboard here. Really, the only thing that's going to be active is VIX on this thing and VX, which you know. Okay, 1487. Yesterday was a. Let me digress for a minute. Yesterday was a fun ride uh, with VIX peaking at 16 points, over 16.5. And we had a few moments yesterday where the 9-day VIX was above the VIX. I'll tell you what that told me. That told me to fade the down move, that was momentary backwardation, that was hedging of short-term stuff, and the difference between VIX, which is, remember, that's the October, and VX. I'm just going to throw that here. I'm just going to put something else there. And VX, which is the VIX futures, which converge on that. At the time, it was like 18 and 16. It was more than a 2-point difference. That's normal. There was really nothing crazy going on in the VIX complex to indicate that this was going to be something more than a blip, from my understanding. I'm not a VIXologist. There's people that are way more nuanced than me, but from my naive seat, that's the way it looked to me, and apparently that's the way it played out. Let's take a look at my other little toy, my VIX-VVIX ratio, which is in the normal range, nothing to get excited about. When it's down here, we're about to go up. When it's up here, we're kind of a little too buoyant, and we're in the normal range. Okay, and so hopefully those of you that view this kind of know that my presentations sometimes are not linear. But I will circle back around to how we're going to make money today. Okay, and so just FYI, the orange is my TV string. These are mentor Q levels. I'll throw gamma edge levels back on the chart. It just takes me too long to copy and paste stuff. I like superimposing other people's stuff on top of mine, but just for fun, just so I don't distract myself, I don't want to see lines that aren't mine right now. Okay, so here's what we see going on. So there's that 6440. I don't know. There's nothing like a $5 billion investment, a tax break, and government and government propping it up that can't turn it into the next Oracle in 5 years. Okay, so we're going back down to the 64.40 and the 66.20 area. I wouldn't be shocked if we open up at 66.25 or we come into that zone. We see IV get, come on, above 15, get VIX above 15. What's the 9-day? The 9-day we'll see a little later. So I think fading this move probably makes sense. Top of the chop. Here we are. We kind of ticked it, almost to the penny. And so let's see what happens. Okay, let me switch now to options depth real quick. Okay, so I think what I have on here, I'm going to take it off and put it back on. So here I'm including, actually we'll start here and then we'll backtrack. Here I'm including today and the AM and PM expiration. Those are big expirations. They're close enough to have some kind of a gamma weighting. This is position size. We'll change it to gamma weighting in a minute. What do I mean by gamma weighting? A contract that, let's just say 66.75 for today, or has more, the market makers are required to hedge that more, we're going to say more, than one at 66.75 out in December. The closer we are to expiration and the closer we are to spot price, the greater the rate of change of delta, which is what market makers have to hedge. As Gamma X says, delta matters. At the end of the day, we're balancing deltas. And all the Greeks spill into the delta at the end. Okay, so 66.50 shows negative gamma. Market makers are short 66.50s, counting tomorrow, but looking at, I'm going to put it on to gamma first. We're thinking out loud here, folks. We're doing this together. If we change it to gamma, it's still a pretty big. So this is the strongest magnet on the board from a gamma point of view going into the day. My eye immediately sees a fly pattern. 66.50, 66.15, with this as a mid. If I want to extend it a little lower, 6,600, round number. So here we have a nice 50-point range with a mid right in the middle. We probably tighten it up here, 1540, something like this, and this is probably where we end up. Just quick, trust your eye, it's a good filter, to use another gamma edge expression. Got a lot of good stuff from Paul. And even if a defibrillator doesn't save Intel, I put an Intel trade in about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, in one of my notes, and I'm closing it out today at 42%. And so if a defibrillator does help it, I'll hop on the next bus. I was just looking, 42% closing it. Goodbye. Let somebody else get rich. And yes, I do individual stock recommendations, or not recommendations, educational posts, excuse me. And I'll do covered call ETF stuff for retirement stuff, bond replacement, income stuff, all kinds of stuff. While I specialize in SPX, I've been doing this for quite a while. It's not, my retirement account is not SPX. My retirement account is stuff. Anyway, so here we are. Now let's look at today, because today is going to have more weight than tomorrow. Let's go back to 0 DTE. And so now 0 DTE, the situation shifts. 6650 is customers short. Market maker long gamma. So here's what I ask myself right now. People are walking into the day and we're thinking out loud together, folks. People are walking into today short 2,000 contracts of the 6650 calls. Maybe they hold it, maybe they don't, I don't know. But either way, I would expect buyers to start to come in, buying up that 6650 call, eroding that as a resistance level. If that happens, if that happens, then there's kind of a ladder, and that's why I kind of wrote in my thing. There's kind of a ladder here between 25 all the way up to 55 up here. It's kind of a thin ladder, so we don't have a lot of gamma to trade off of other than the 50. 75 is a round number where I expect to see iron condor sellers come in. We have regularly coming in the morning, the 5 wide gang and the 10 wide gang. The 5 wide gang has been missing for a few days. They came back yesterday. They typically do 7,000 iron condors, 5 wide, pretty early in the day. Then they might add to them. I've seen them be 20. It's not the icy whale, it's somebody else. And they typically set the edges. And they tend to be where I tend to be, actually, because I put my trades in before them, but we tend to end up in the same area. Here's 650, 690, 6,000. This looks rock solid here. But between 6,500, let's not get it twisted, 6,650 and 6,600, there's really not a lot to hang your hat on right now. So depending on how cautious one wants to be in making a prediction, and going back to this view for a second, I was gently discussing this with Nanda earlier. Let me just make. When the color is pale, that means don't torture the data. It means, not a lot required. Path of least resistance takes us to 6630. At the end of the day, this zone, which takes everything into account, is kind of where the magnet is as of now. So you could say 66, 25, 30, all-time high area. You can look at it as this zone, 47 to 66.10. Somewhere in here is kind of the path that's as outlined now. Of course, should we get balled up and go above 66.50, then 66.80. But it's all thin right now. That'll fill up. And also, remember, gamma being time dependent, as we get back into here, then the flow from then the let's do something else for fun. Let's take today out of the equation for a second. Here's what's lurking behind us. Now, yes, end of the day expiration is going to matter, but we have the big AM expiration and the PM right behind us. And these are going to get pretty strong. These are bigger numbers, and these are going to stay. The 0 DTE stuff, you and me and everybody else is going to trade a lot of that stuff out. There's not going to be a lot sitting at the end of the day. The AM is going to be sitting mostly. Oh, new rule. Now the AM expiry can trade, I think, until 9:25. Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember it came out and I double checked it with AI. Actually, I didn't go to the website. I was lazy, and I'm 99% sure it's till 9:25 a.m. they can trade that, which is going to make things interesting again, a whole new way of thinking. And so that's what's going on here today. So this is coming up in the rear view mirror. So we still have sticky 6650 magnet. We still have 6600 magnet. Odds are we land somewhere in here for tomorrow. When I say in here, maybe you can't see it, 6650 and 6600. So we could end up at 40. We could end up at 15. I mean, of course, we could end up at 80 or at 80 on the bottom, 6580. But logic dictates that that's where we end up. Not that logic carries a lot of weight in this game. Okay, and that's kind of the basic roadmap. And so what's my roadmap for today? All right, let's go back to where we are. Okay, so we're coming in, doing the old gap fill, magnet 6640. Why am I calling it a magnet? Well, negative gamma can be a magnet in either direction. Market makers are short calls here, but it's small. It's 400, 750 contracts. So don't get it twisted. This whole area is anything could happen, which could easily bring us into the 6620-ish area by the time the market, or intraday. Oh, morning money makers. I like that. Nice positive. So it looks like whatever that exuberance was in the morning is faded. I have no idea what those numbers were, unemployment numbers, whatever. If tea leaf readers are saying they're good or bad, obviously no, but they're not thrilled. And so take this magnet with a grain of salt because it's small. And so now it appears the path is going to be down toward here where we have a thin zone. We have a thin zone in here between 40 and 15 is a relatively thin zone. We have that 6620, so it looks like we're receding into this. So if you were short calls and you felt yourself puckering when you looked at where we were this morning, you're okay. That would be a very buyable pullback. I don't know if we get it, but that would be I would certainly size up if that happened. I would certainly size up if that happened. And it could. I mean, just looking at if I looked at price action, let's take a look at price action. Let's take our gamma hats off and put our price action hats on. 2530s or that 6620 time. I don't think, I think max would be somewhere around here probably. Let's take a quick look. Let me switch gears because we're all thinking together. We're in this together, kids. We're constructing our daily plan together. There's no I in team. Our common welfare should come first. So we got 25 based on the E-mini. Yeah, I mean, that seems to be, and that was also the all-time highest zone, round number. There's a lot of reasons to keep an eye on that. That was yesterday's high. There's a lot of reasons to keep an eye on that, from gamma, from price action, etc. Okay, so we have 25. No, well, the expected move is 25, 26 points, but we're also talking about the 25 zone area on the chart. So we have a double 25. I'm guessing VIX is not happy about what just happened. Nothing really going on here. I'm kind of not really sure. This doesn't seem to be corresponding to this, but we'll see. And plus, we have post FOMC hangover, so okay. So let's get 25-point expected move from here, and where is here? Let's just kind of get our bearings again. Whoops, I just screwed the pooch. Clicked the wrong thing. Okay. So 25 points from here, which puts us right down into, where is it? Brings us into that 20 area. Brings us into a nice, interesting area. Oh, Bad Hombre is here. Oh, good segue. So I'm going to put an ES chart up and let our ES scalper extraordinaire talk us through what he's seeing, and he's part of the.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, guys. Here's what I'm looking for. This morning, I'm going to tell you what I'd like first. I'd like a nice push down, a nice healthy push down below 680, and then I'd start to look for some longs once we get back above 695. I'm looking for a good movement. If we hold below 680, I'm going to be targeting 6660. Yes, 6660. That's what I'd be targeting for the downside.
Okay, so here I have an ES chart up. So 6690 or 80, you said, is kind of where you're looking?
Below 60. Hold on. Below 6680, yes. I'm looking.
Okay. So I have a magic gamma line of 6675 equivalent.
Okay, great. So right around there. Potential bounce back above 6690 for continuation of the upside. I think downside is a little bit more likely today. So if we hold below or at 6680, I'm going to be targeting 6660.
And 6660, for those of you in the SPX land, is 6600 SPX.
Got it. So that would make kind of some sense there on the SPX.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Actually expect kind of a pretty straightforward day. For the most part, I think if it's going to be a trend day, whether we're up or down, it's still early to tell for me, but I'm seeing some fun on the horizon.
Can you overlay the image of the SPX contract with the gamma chart? I'm not sure what you mean when you say the image of the SPX contract. Somebody said, it sounds like a good idea. I'm just not sure exactly what you mean when you say the SPX contract. So if you can just kind of explain it, send it in the chat, DM me or whatever. Is there a simple way to transfer ES prices to SPX?
Yes, there's an indicator on, if you're using TradingView, it's called, I'll give you the exact name for it.
I got one here too somewhere. Let me see. I have it in one of the 18 indicators I keep on my chart. Where is it? What's it called?
For me, it's SPY SPX ES price converter by
Yeah,
PT
something like
Candle.
that. Yeah, where is it? Where is it? Oh, I don't have it here. I must have taken it off.
And we're at 66.90 now. So this is what
SPY SPX price converter right here. There it is. SPY SPX price converter. And then you kind of like pick which one you want to see, whatever. I mean, I personally don't give a crap about SPY, to tell you the truth. Only because I don't trade it. I mean,
I
I trade. I mean, I trade it. That's not true.
know.
I trade it. My swing trades are usually going to be SPY.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not going to invest $20,000 in a swing trade. I'll spend $500 on SPY flies or calls or whatever or puts. So yeah, but I just kind of mentally transpose it. But I usually can't tell you where SPY is. I can look at a chart and say I'm going to buy a 50 delta or a 20 delta. I'll look at SPY. But this is interesting. I actually like this price action better. But I don't like extended. It just kind of makes it harder. I think most of us would agree to that.
Oh yeah.
And in general, now we're just kind of chit chatting for a second. Even when I was more of just a price action trader, I was always that guy that liked to trade within the channel. I didn't like to trade the breakouts or breakdowns. I like to trade within a channel. Maybe it's because I want to buy on the discount rack and sell at list price. Here we go. Okay, so we're obeying my inflection point, mental cues, however they do their calculations, so we have this confluence here. Now, as IV goes up, and I'm surprised it's not, and we talked about this last night in a subscriber chat. Long story short, the strength of the market maker long hedging demand weakens. The distribution widens and becomes more of a zone. It becomes, instead of 66.20, let's just say it becomes 66.20 to 66.10, 6600 even. So the distribution widens, and that's why we often see strong levels, quote unquote, get overrun. If you have time, look at gamma for open or OPEN. We'll take a look at that in a minute. What do you mean by simple? What am I overlaying on what, I guess, is what I don't understand. Overlay X on Y. Overlay what on what?
I think they
Again,
want you to overlay options depth on candles.
Oh, is that what is he saying?
I believe. I mean, that's what I'm getting.
Okay, well, I've seen people do it. That's way above my pay grade. I've seen people do it. I can barely type a note. If it wasn't for ChatGPT, you'd be reading 72 typos. But tell me if this is what you're talking about. Are you talking about, well,
I think they want that with candles.
if that's what you're talking about, are you talking about this? That with candles? Because options that has it like this, with the full heat map, I'm sure if somebody were more technically proficient, they could figure out a way to do that with the other dashboard thing. But so if that's what you're talking about, then options depth has it with the heat map or with the charm, and you can pick your time frame. So is that what you're talking about? I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm really just asking a question. Okay. Look at open. Let's see. For that, my buddies at Gamma Edge again. One thing they do have is they pretty much usually have everything. And there it is. Okay, let's take a quick look at open. I haven't. Okay, wow. A quarter of a million calls on this piece of garbage. I mean, on this beautiful company. Um, I mean, I haven't traded this in a long. I actually was like a blind squirrel. I had this real cheap, and I got out close to a top tick a while back. So I really haven't looked back. I considered it a gift from the trading gods. Okay, example: a 1 hour SPX chart with a real time chart of today's gamma with gamma level price levels. Well, so how is that different? And I'm just want to try to understand how is that different than where's the calendar? How do I do the calendar thing again? I just did it. Uh, oh, here we go, calendar. Duh. Oh, there you go. 65-minute candle, 15-minute candle overlay on yesterday. Is that an example? Candle overlay, here's your time frame. Anyway, so getting back to the question with open, I like the landscape view. I mean, so there's 100,000 calls sitting here at 10. So this is one of those stocks, as you know, if you're asking about it, there are a lot of retail and some institutions, I'm sure, who know how to weaponize this, jump on this thing. If people start buying calls, it can certainly squeeze up, another point or two. However, if you're sitting there long, if you're sitting there long 90,000 contracts of calls at 10 and a half, and the stock is at 10 and a half, and they're expiring today, what are you going to do with them? I don't know about you, but I'm selling them. So common sense would tell me, now, not saying that applies, that gets sold or gets maybe rolled up. But that's a lot of money to leave on the table. Let's see what's going on behind it. Okay, so there's not that much here. I would be surprised if there was much action in October. There's not much action. That's the best I could do. Yeah, exactly. 26% short interest, all that. Exactly, exactly. It's one of those. It's one of those. For this thing to move 10, 20% in a day is like, it's like for my goats to go to drop a pellet. And I don't know if you know how often goats drop pellets, but trust me, they could be eating and doing it simultaneously. And here's our chop zone. So I don't know if that helped. That's the best I could give you on open. Okay, I'm gonna bounce right now. Okay, it's gonna be an interest. Oh, actually, wait. Before we bounce, we gotta go back to our bread and butter, right? SPX. Now let's see what we got going on. Oh wow, look at me. I don't even have anything for today. Thank you. Yeah, you get me. I am me. You're not gonna get whatever. Wow, 65.60 sure looks interesting to me. I mean, if I could even go a little lower, below the round number, 40 cent. I'll take that in a heartbeat right now. Similar. Wait, what's going on here? Oh, that's something else. Similar. If I can get 50, even 45, even better. So for my style, I like to sell wide. That's fine. If I were trading, five wides, and I know we have a lot of people who trade five wides, I'm going to say six. This might be a good level. Let me see. Even here, I would put that in for a quarter on the bottom. And on top, you got plenty of juice. On top, I would put in educational only. I mean, I like to be away from the round numbers, so I'd put 80 in. You could probably even go 70 if you want to mess with these people and get chunky premium. I might even try something like that a little later, just for sport. And this is what I have for tomorrow, done based on the expected move chart that we talk about every week for my subscribers. Here's the expected move chart. I actually gave everybody the Thinkorswim script for this yesterday. But it's not any special magic anything. It's just expected move chart. If you know how to write thing script, you could do this in your sleep. For me, writing thing script is the same as building a rocket ship, and so I rely on the kindness of strangers. And that's it. I don't think we have a disaster today. I think we stay within one of those job zones. Yep, you caught that. Yes, I know I have some five white people. You're not the only one. A few people have asked me on the side.
Will you give
Okay,
your
go ahead.
thoughts on OPEX tomorrow pre-market?
Say again.
Will your thoughts on OPEX be based on pre-market tomorrow, or do you think more today? How we're setting up into it tomorrow?
How we're setting up into tomorrow for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Good luck, everybody.
Gotta take that into account. And one last thing, and this is one of my standard pet peeves: clickbait. Two last things. One, when they say $8 trillion worth of options expiring today, the biggest expiration since the fall of Rome, it's meaningless. What matters is, let's just say broadly, and I'm going to give them a wide breadth. What matters is, let's just say, let's go here. What matters is the 10, but really the 20 delta stuff and the 20 delta stuff on top. But what really matters is the options that are, let's just say, between here, 25 delta, let's give it a 25 delta on top. That's what really matters. And this is mostly hedged already. So it's probably going to be, a billion-ish that they have to play with, not a trillion. So let's not get crazy. I once did a deep dive into that and got an exact number, but trust me. Let me see. Okay, come on, Perry, bring it. No, don't use clouds on gamma. Use, the blue horizontal gamma bars overlaid. Okay, gotcha. Okay. I don't know how to do that. It would be useful for sure if you can figure out a way to do that. I've seen people who are more adept than me do that, but I'm not sure how. So the answer is yes, it would be useful. No, I have no idea how to do it. Oh yes, QILD roll. Thank you. I knew that was the second thing I wanted to mention. See, then I can never get out of here in time. The same thing happens, one more thing and then I'm leaving, and then it's like 2 hours later. So I'm involved in some service boards and committees, and I'm always that guy that, okay, one more thing, and I'm going to drop the mic, and then 10 minutes later, I still haven't dropped the mic. Okay, so NDX. Folks, we have the famous QILD roll. And what's the QILD roll? You're going to hear me talk about it. If you've been following me, you've been hearing me talk about it for years. So the YLD family of funds, Yield Max, has a number of covered call funds where they, just for simplicity's sake, they do covered calls on whatever, on the indexes and on individual names. Particularly QILD, called QILD because it's based on the Qs or the NDX. They buy, not really, but let's pretend, QQQ covered calls or NDX deep in the money options and sell at the money calls for the next month. So last month, this was at the money. Now it's a 92 delta. What they do on the Thursday before expiration is they buy these back. Now this is 4,200-ish contracts of delta to buy. That tends to have a supportive effect on the market. I've had discussions with quantity people that tell me, well, it couldn't because it's hedged like this, like that. Yeah, maybe. Research studies bear out, and not, Nomura and Goldman, all those kind of people have written about it, and I've noticed it anecdotally, it does. 0.1 to 0.2% effect. So let me explain what I mean by that. If we were theoretically going to be down 0.3%, we might be down only 0.1%. If we were going to be up 0.2%, we might be up 0.3, 0.4. So it tends to have a supportive effect, especially when it comes in. It comes in tranches. It comes in couple hundred at a time, Now let me show you this real quick. Hold on. Now let me just change it to a different time frame for a minute. All right, well, it's not doing a great job here. All right, well, I'm not going to show you that. They buy at VWAP, and I'll be posting charts of VWAP of the NDX. They try to buy at VWAP, like everybody else. And tomorrow, let me finish this thought. Tomorrow is the YLD sell, which tends to be suppressive. So they sell not just QYLD, XYLD, which is the SPX, RYLD, which is the Russell, and then their NV, their NVIDIA one, whatever. They're selling at the money calls on everybody. And so is JEPI, JEPI, selling their, they sell about a 30 delta call, I think, or 32 delta call. And on whatchamacallit, on SPX, and they have JEPQ, they do it on the Qs, and you have a million copycats. You have SPYI and QQQI, which I actually like better than JEPI. They're like JEPI, where they sell an option, but what they do, they kind of do a little 1x2. So let's just pretend I'm managing SPYI. They might, I'm just kind of making this up here. They might do something like sell this and buy one of these. Sometimes I might even buy two of these. I'd have to look. Still get a credit, but on that acceleration up, they get some convexity, and they kind of end up making a little more, especially in a bull market, than JEPI. They do a little bit better, roughly the same. It's called a dividend yield, but it's not really a dividend. Roughly the same distribution monthly, with a little bit better of a return in net asset value. I've been legging into these shares a little bit in my old man account, and it's kind of an interesting setup for now. That's a good question. It's either 11. They use the 11 o'clock VWAP. I think it starts at 11:30, and I think the selling starts at 1 o'clock tomorrow. But I could have it backwards. Every month I have it backwards. I've been having it backwards every month for the last few years. And I posted it. I'll look in the Discord, because I think last time I flagged it, and this time I'm going to flag it again, and everybody's in charge of remembering it for me. I'd have to go back through my old tweets. If you go back through my old tweets, when it happens, I always tweet it. I wish I had a better answer than that, for my own sake as well as everybody else's, but I just don't. All right, 9:25, so it looks like I've way overstayed my welcome. But I will, in my Discord, I will dig that information up, and I will have it shortly. All right, take care, everybody.